It was quite an extraordinary scene when you came down here and saw the scale of the accident that had happened. 150 different vehicles involved, cars, vans, lorries, car transporters, and incredibly nobody died that day. 200 people were treated at the scene and around 8 people suffered serious injuries, and from the early pictures it was very clear that fog did play a major issue. It was a bright, beautiful, sunny day later on, but there was very thick fog earlier on during the day. But as you said, police have spent 4 months investigating this incident, and they have found that driver behaviour was partly a cause. Inspector Martin Stevens, you've been leading this investigation. Tell us, there is now potentially evidence available to prosecute some of these drivers, but you're not going to do that.
That's correct. The investigation has identified 32 drivers who we feel have not driven appropriately to the speeds and to the conditions on the morning. So what we're going to do, and what we've already done, is that we've offered all 32 drivers the opportunity to take part in a national driver alertness course as an alternative to going to court for the offences of either careless driving or inconsiderate driving.
But this was an enormous crash scene, a huge task for the emergency services to deal with. Is this enough of a deterrent to make people drive properly in the future?
Well, I think so. We've got a duty to prevent collisions happening in the future, so it's not just all about enforcement. Education is very important too. The same criteria has been applied to this collision as any other. The evidence is there to suggest that 32 drivers have in fact driven inappropriately, and the course will provide them with the education as well as the enforcement.
When you mentioned driving inappropriately, can you give us an idea of how they were driving? Potentially it's a lesson to others.
Absolutely. You know, there's no doubt about it that the fog was a main factor. It was very difficult conditions for everyone involved, but the 32 drivers that we have identified were unable to stop in a distance they could see ahead of them to be clear. I think it's worth pointing out that there were many drivers who were able to and were driving at appropriate speeds, but the 32 that we've identified simply weren't.